different lives.
It was
Camera one,
our
camera two. Camera one, camera two.
Camera two. See, you do have sound bites.
I did one.
You did.
Wayne's World. Hi, Bender.
Okay, so it was Keeping It Weird's Instagram that wasn't working. Send that.
Who's Bender?
Oh. Sharp. Why is Instagram so glitchy?
Hi, knockdown, drag out. Thank you. I'm glad you were late to my rambles.
Yeah, wait, I was editing episode 4, which is going to drop as soon as we are done with this. And we go on a lot of tangents.
Yeah, we do.
I made sure to be very medicated today so that I could keep us on track.
Oppositionally, I'm on no medication today, so let's see how this goes.
Officially on Ritalin, is that what you said?
I'm your
No, I
comfort
said oppositionally, I'm on no medication today.
Oh,
So yeah, we'll see how that energy, the chaos gremlin, can come out.
Listen, I love the energy and it's so much fun. I'm trying. I don't know if people will watch a 2-hour episode is the only thing.
Helen.
Okay, yeah. But maybe they will. I don't know. Like, they seem to be going longer and longer each time. Okay, so I signed in.
I can commit to trying to be concise. I cannot commit to actually being concise.
Do the entertainment.
Okay.
I just came from Pride, the Pride Parade, everyone, and I am a little overstimulated.
And you have
calm my brain down.
You have a whiny dog in your lap.
He's
and
okay. A dog's making
8 different devices in your face.
Yeah. It's
okay. And almost there, folks. Cokes, I said. Almost there, Cokes. Kids, folks. Why are you whining, little boy? What is the matter, my baby?
Mom, pay attention to me.
Okay, great. So Instagram says that they're successful. I don't know what to do about Facebook.
Just leave them. They suck.
We don't have many people on Facebook yet anyway.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I think we're good.
It's not worth stressing about.
Okay, and we're recording here, so that's really what matters.
Yeah.
Wonderful. If you hear the dogs barking or whatever, just try to pause whatever you're saying. No pun intended. Just because if there's overlap, I can't edit that out. But if she's just barking on her own, I can cut it out.
Okay. I'll try and remember that.
Alrighty. Hydrate for the moment. I'm not wearing shoes today, folks. I got my funky socks on.
Nice. Ooh, I should take my shoes off. I'm wearing my, it's going to be Velcro. Velcro sound. I wear my gayest footwear, which is Tita's. Oh, I guess gayer than that is Birkenstocks. I should have worn my Birkenstocks. But
I appreciate that we all have our emotional support water bottles with us.
yes, always.
Okay. Don't be a rat. Charlie, come here. Charlie, come here.
Okay.
Come lay down. Come on. Let's get comfy.
Yeah.
Let's cuddle. Today's topic is cuddling.
Yeah. Today's topic is cuddling, everyone. Cuddle. We're talking to a cuddle therapist.
Keeley the Cuddle Therapist.
I
I'm
did not
so excited.
I didn't know this was even a thing until Courtney was like, "Oh, we're talking to a cuddle therapist." I'm like, "Give me her TikTok so I can go see even what this is." Yeah. And I was like, "What? Wow, cool."
Yeah. So, welcome to Keeping It Weird. Welcome back. Today we have a very, very special guest that I'm so excited about. Keeley the Cuddle Therapist. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited for this chat. I love talking about my work, and I also talking about stalking people, have like stalked and followed and just adored everything that you've done for years. So this is a delight. Absolute delight.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that. Yeah, you're the reason I know about cuddle therapy, and it looks like you're kind of a pioneer in the industry, yeah?
Yeah. The industry, as it's called, cuddle therapy. Now, I can go into like the details about the modality being like rooted in a lot of indigenous wisdoms anyway, but the people calling something cuddle therapy is only about 10 years old. And I've been doing it for about a decade. So yeah, it's kind of cool to be on the cutting edge of something pretty accidentally. Like I stumbled upon it and it happened to coincide in the timeline of like as it was building. And so I was very fortunate and very like fortuitously, serendipitously plugged in at the right moment, at the right time, doing a very cool thing that I love and feel like I was always meant to do. So it's a convergence of very wonderful things.
So, Charlie, hold for dog. So for those of you who don't know what cuddle therapy is, I mean, first of all, hi Q, we're featuring you today. I'm so excited. Stick around. I think cuddle therapy is pretty self-explanatory, but I don't know if you run into people not knowing what it is, but clearly it's platonic physical affection, but it's therapeutic.
I love that came very naturally to you because it is not, I would say how I would assume people would hear the term cuddle therapy is certainly not always how people hear it. So the quick and hopefully accessible definition that I give people is cuddle therapy gives people access to platonic touch in a container, like in a safe space defined by consent and boundaries education for the benefit of their well-being, for the validation of their humanity, for their mental well-being in total. So that's kind of how I define it. There's a lot, there's so many questions that I get about it, but that's hopefully an overview that'll give people at least one more peek into what it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you guys have any questions? Are you guys clear on what this is? What do you want to ask her?
Bring it.
Chime in with any questions, live people.
So the reason that I wanted to bring Keeley on was because I see a lot of struggle. This is one of those things where we were talking about in the episode that I got today. You'll see how we talk about how neurodivergence can really manifest in like opposite ways. So some of us are super affectionate and some of us are not at all. And I'm one of those people that's super duper affectionate. I'll hug a stranger. I'll tell you I love you after 5 minutes. And I know a lot of people who are very much the opposite. And if you hug them, it's very uncomfortable. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about the mental health behind it. Affection is important for our mental health. Socializing with each other, connecting with each other is really important for our mental health. And I know that sometimes we tend to isolate as a coping mechanism because we don't feel like we fit in. And that kind of drives us to isolation. It makes us feel like we don't like people, but really it's just that we're not around people that like get us and we feel comfortable around. So Keeley, if you could just guide us through, some of the problems that you're solving and a lot of the experiences that you encounter that you're working on.
Yeah, and I love talking about this because I am someone who's autistic and ADHD. So there's so much that platonic touch in the way that's accessible to the individual can severely impact their mental well-being and their physical well-being. So what happens in the body, and please, at if any point, if I get down the rabbit hole of too much like neuroscience inquiry, just pause me and I'll reel it back. Although I feel like that's also your brand.
Next episode, we're doing neuroscience, so you're good.
Yes, this will be like little sneak peeks into some of that stuff then, hopefully. When I say that if it's accessible, it's super helpful to our well-being. Neurodivergent people have different access points. You talked about some people really like being affectionate. oftentimes the thing that necessitates them being in those environments is that feeling of safety, comfortability, authenticity. Can I be who I actually am? Can I have my stims? Can I have my my flights of tangents and still be seen as whole and complete and valuable? Similarly with the way we touch, there's lots of neurodivergent folks. That's sort of like my bread and butter and one of my target demographics of clients, because I really relate to that population of like, okay, you are someone who does have a bit more of the hyperactive side as into their neurodivergent, so you need to move a lot. There's a whole like cultural paradigm of like, okay, if you're cuddling and you're fidgeting, it is bad. That is something you shouldn't do if you're cuddling. Fidgeting is totally great. So maybe we just adjust and adapt and be present for what's showing up for people, because what happens when we can access platonic touch. Tangenting off into like also, so we've got ADHD, some ways that shows up, whether it's needing to adjust or whatnot, but also with the autism, the different kinds of stimulus. Sensory input is really important. So do we need to really dim the lights, have no sense in the room so that you can access touch without being overstimulated? Do we need to have focus on compression kind of touch as opposed to like light feathery touch, because the light feathery touch is overstimulating, right? So we get people to access it in their own way that's true and comfortable for their body, because once they do, the impacts of it are profound. It will boost your immune system. It lowers your heart rate. It changes. We're activating our parasympathetic nervous system. We're activating our limbic system, so our pleasure centers, our comfort centers. We're decreasing the amount of cortisol, stress hormone, cortisol in our body. When we produce oxytocin, skin to skin, we're using our C-type nerve endings, skin to skin and touch receptors. When they're activated for 30 minutes, make our whole body and systems decrease inflammation. Like the amount of physiological health benefits for it, especially the ones that coincide with neurodivergence, are so profound. So it is huge.
That's amazing. And I love that, especially because in our last filming, we talked all about like the stress response and how we're so prone to high stress and how to reduce that. And I never made that connection. That's amazing. That's wonderful. So do you, first of all, I love that you are so neurodivergent informed and that your care is like, I didn't even know it was so targeted for like, you really cater to the needs of neurodivergent people. Can you guys hear her, by the way? Do I need to turn it up?
Yeah. I don't know. It's pretty quiet.
Diana, we're sorry, by the way, sorry for the delay on the comments. I will like stop and look at scroll through some comments periodically. Yes, you can hear fine. Great. Diana, I'm actually gonna edit this and post it on our podcast in a few weeks. Today, after this filming is done, I'm gonna drop episode 4, which we filmed quite a while ago. But we're about like a month behind or something. So anything you see live will be on YouTube and podcast platforms in like a month. If you want to see the recording and everything. What was I? I never also made the connection about not having, like you talked about judgments around cuddling. And that's never really occurred to me about how there's still social norms that you have to follow like in any other environment. And
or
that
deconstruct.
totally makes sense. Yeah. That's really interesting. And so you're able to provide a physical affection space for people to just be themselves and not worry about, am I doing this right? Does this feel awkward for them? That kind of thing. That's really neat.
The cool thing about this space and why it makes sense that it's a professional context, like there's definitely the cultural pushback, understandably so, of like, well, why the hell would anyone pay for this, right? Well, it's because what we can do in a session with a professional is we take those societal expectations, those social expectations that for many people do not fit, or make it really hard to access, or make it really uncomfortable, or make it really anxiety producing. We take all those social norms, we throw them out the window and say, actually, maybe what if in this space, the only thing that matters is that you and your body are comfortable. Me and my body are comfortable, and we're connecting in a way that feels affirming for both of us. What if we got to define exactly what that looked like without anything else being a requirement or should of us? And that's what the whole point of like having someone who's had the education around it can do. Because like one of the questions that I get so often, which blows my mind a little bit actually, is people that say, if I hire you, do we have to do this in silence or can we talk? And for me, it's like, of course we could talk. You don't have to and we also don't have to. Like, that's just it too. Some folks who, especially
not talk.
yeah, they're like, they have those silent hair appointments. Have you heard these? Like salons will offer a silent service. You have a quick consultation about what you want, and then they will not talk to you for the whole time.
Wow.
And it's for people who
I'm
have
gonna this for just a second because my dog is whining. Because I left the treat jar open, of course. So yeah. Just a minute.
How can you ask for no whining when the treat jar is open?
I know. Well, the dogs. Hello, everybody. Hello. All right.
Okay, sorry. I'm back. Yeah, that's super helpful. I love that. It's funny to me that people would say, why would I pay for this? Like, it's so obvious to me that I would love to have someone to just cuddle with me, but I'm starved for physical affection. So
yeah,
that's why it's a no-brainer for me.
For me, it's like, I don't know, because I am not a cuddly person by nature.
Mm-hmm.
So do you ever get people who are on the spectrum, or even people who aren't on the spectrum, who maybe just aren't really like into touch or cuddling that much, come to you, and how do you, like, I guess, are there people kind of wanting to
learn
get better at that, or be more receptive to that?
Mm-hmm. Again, because of my target population, the people I serve the most, in addition to neurodivergence, trauma. So I specialize in trauma reprocessing and trauma healing. And so, yeah, I've had I have a whole caseload of clients who come in who are touch averse and are trying to find ways to access it that are not so scary, not so awful, not so cringy or uncomfortable, or even downright terrifying, right? And so it's back to that kind of same concept of, okay, what if we throw out the window what it's supposed to look like, and we just spend slow, patient, intentional time figuring out what actually does feel really good. Does cuddling for you look like someone brushing your hair? Does cuddling for you just look like someone drawing shapes on your back like when we were kids? Like, does cuddling
making me want physical affection?
Right? Yeah. See, is that the thing that works?
It's like,
mm-hmm.
no, I'm just kidding.
Even little things like that, like the connection was, I don't know about what it felt like in the room, but for me watching that, there was a spark of, like, in both of your faces, in both of your body language, there's a spark of connection. It was a deeper little bit moment, not to like shine a spotlight on y'all.
We have years together, so that's we have established chemistry, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. And it shows.
Piece, either like working with people who have like touch issues related to trauma, that's probably super therapeutic for people like that in that situation. Yeah.
There's a really beautiful case that I had a couple years ago, and there was a physiological response to touch, meaning like there was pain when, even just like with a skin graze, there was like pain in the body. And so we worked through different things. And after a couple months of working together with no touch, and that's also something that some people are surprised. There's tons of clients I see. And when we say access to touch, it's not that touch is ever mandated. There are cuddle sessions that happen where we do not touch each other at all. And they are wonderfully beautiful, important, moving cuddle sessions, right? It's not that, it looks a ton of different ways. Those, so part of the like underlying skill set of what we teach in cuddle therapy and like what this modality can be as a therapeutic modality and not more as like a luxury service is how do we communicate boundaries and consent? How do we get our, I'm going to use some $10 words, interoception and proprioception, our own ability to notice what our body feels like and how our body is in the world. A lot of people are walking around really in their heads, right? Sometimes people are so disconnected from their body that like they don't even know at any moment what they're feeling anywhere in their body, right? And in the non-touch cuddle sessions, it can be, okay, we're just doing a whole slew of different things, guided meditation. We're doing some exercises on boundaries and consent. So one of my favorite games is the yes/no game. And so I'll ask a bunch of questions and they have to say no to every single one and just notice how their body responds to it. Then I'll ask a couple of questions for a time limit of like 2 minutes and they'll say yes to everything. We don't do any of it. They're just noticing what it's like in their body to say these responses. Like, what does it feel like in my body when I say yes to something that I don't want? What does it feel like in my body when I say yes to something that I really want? So we work on these different types of skills. We work on secure attachment. If anyone watching is an attachment geek, we work on what are the challenges of like disorganized or anxious attachment and how we get back to a grounded, it's all back to getting to grounded nervous system, getting into our parasympathetic nervous system, re-regulating. And so there might be a whole several months of work where we're getting into a place where emotional vulnerability, where just this authentic, genuine connection feels safe enough in their body to then get to touch. And that client I was referencing earlier, after a couple months of work, the big breakthrough moment was like an ET phone home moment. We did ET phone home with like the fingers touching and there was no pain, no nothing, no negative response, just really neutral and fine. And like that was huge. That was amazing. That was in some ways more powerful than some of the clients who I'm like, you know, in this like lovely cuddle puddle where we can't tell whose limb ends and one begins. Like sometimes that's more powerful the second way.
Yeah. Wow.
Cuddle puddle. That brought me back to my rave days. In the early 2000s. Oh goodness.
This, first of all, that kind of reminded me of like exposure therapy. Is that kind of what you base that model on when it's non?
Kind of. It's a little bit more similar to, there's a brilliant person doing a lot of work around this, but like memory reconsolidation is the concept that when we have a traumatic memory or when we have activation stored in our body, when we get a dysregulated nervous system response for something, so our heart rate increases, our face flushes, our muscles tense, we kind of go into a little bit of the fight flight. The memory consolidation says that if we can, from a started neutral regulated nervous system space, get into a little bit of dysregulation, go into those moments, go into a memory, maybe go into that state of activation, and then come back to safety and come back to the regulated system, it is so much better. And you're building the skill set to do that rather than just never getting.
Yeah,
it's like neuroplasticity, right? You're creating the pathways back to that and the skill sets to get back to that. Exactly right. And so the process of going back to that. So yeah, getting a little activated or getting a little bit outside of that comfort so that your internal system knows, oh, even when I get out here in this really uncomfortable space, oh, I know how to do this. I know how to come back. I've done that. I've done that a lot of times before. So exposure therapy is similar in that, but exposure therapy also has a whole rabbit hole it goes down. So I liken it a little bit more to memory consolidation.
Yeah, that's really neat. Yeah, this is blowing my mind. I had no idea there was so much, I don't know,
depth.
Yeah. And so many different modes and purposes, and it's so informed. That's incredible.
Well, and I'll say one thing. Oh, go ahead. So sorry.
Go for it.
When ADHD collides. The one thing that feels responsible for me to say is that I am a neuroscience geek, right? I do this and I really invest in this work. And it feels important to mention that cuddle therapy, or professional cuddling even more colloquially, isn't a regulated industry. So across the board, not everyone will have this kind of depth, will not have the kind of trauma-informed practice that I have because of the additional educational platforms that I've sought. So just it's a consumer education importance to, if someone's going into this, know that yes, it can have immense amount of depth. I just spoke at a couple conferences in DC, like the APA, the American Psychological Association conference in DC that happened. And then I'm going to ASECT, the American Association for Sex Educators, Clinicians, Counselors and Therapists, next weekend in St. Louis. And so, yes, there's an incredible amount of depth there. However, not everyone practices with that same amount of depth.
Yeah, and I feel the same for ADHD coaching. It's unfortunate. I do wish that everybody was as educated and informed and thoughtful as I am in my practices, but unfortunately, it's the good and the bad of the unregulated industry. Is like you have the freedom to really like get creative and target whatever you want and shape your services to match, your people's needs. So you're not so confined to like exactly what your license says. But on the other hand, there are others in the industry who kind of tarnish the reputation a little because they don't have as much integrity. So
yeah. I think though, like if you're a person who's just strictly who's okay with touch, who's just looking simply for connection like that, it might be okay to go someone who, is a little less knowledgeable or a little less layered. But I think if you're looking, you just have to do your due diligence and know what you're specifically looking for. Because if you do have trauma or other issues with touch, or if you just want someone who can work with you in like a deeper sort of fashion, it's probably better to look for somebody. Is there a place where people can find this information about like how to find a cuddle therapist in their area?
Yeah, there are a couple of really reputable sites that I love. I will be very forefront in that I am biased to Cuddleist. So I've been with the company as enlisted with them since 2015, but last year I purchased Cuddleist. And so I have a bias. I'm the CEO and co-owner of that company. Yay!
Oh, yay!
But we've revamped our entire training process. So everyone on that site has all of the basic skills to do something close to this kind of depth there. We have trauma-informed training. We have diversity, equity, inclusion training that's really extensive. We have extensive consent and boundaries and space holding training for all of the people who come through Cuddleist. Similarly, an organization that I adore, have lots of support for, is Cuddle Sanctuary. They're primarily based out of Los Angeles, so that's very regionally specific. But Cuddle Sanctuary is another great one. I couldn't rave enough about it. There are other sites that are an entirely mixed bag. And so just go to the website, look at what is required of the people who are listing there, or an individual practitioner's personal website. If you stumble across someone who has one, then look and see if they've got any education listed on there. Look and see if they've got their specialties or their target populations that they serve listed on there. How many years have they been doing it? There are some people who utilize this service brilliantly as a luxury service. Like it just feels they work a ton. Or I have a lot of single moms who like are so touched out with giving touch that they just need their tanks replenished. Like they just need to not have someone asking for something for a minute and someone giving back to them for a little bit. And if that's all they need, and they just need like someone to like head in your lap and stroke in your hair, or like just some quality attention, someone who doesn't have the extensive trauma background that I do, it's not necessary, right? Yeah. Or if someone's like,
I would totally hire somebody who's just snuggle on the couch. Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you are really good, like I would say people who would self-identify as people pleasers, I would highly recommend getting someone who has a little bit more training, because one of the great things about these spaces is that we can support people to kind of prioritize and value their own wants and needs and comfort in spaces, rather than prioritizing and being like really like beautiful service people. So like I've got lots of nurses, clients, or anyone who's in like caregiving professions. But if someone's not that, like I have a couple clients who are high powered, high demand, high stress jobs. Like think government official, or think air traffic controller, right? The job requirement is just so much stress, and what they need is some downtime. They're not worried about all the rest of that stuff. Most professional cuddlers who you vet in any way, who have been practicing in any amount of time, are probably going to be great. They're probably going to be kind and compassionate, and like you don't need all the other bells and whistles.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just, it's important to know what you're getting. So this kind of all boils down to trust to me. And I think there's a huge, just in society right now, we're in a place where nobody trusts anybody. And I think it's because of just the way we've evolved into having our own isolated little homes, and COVID. We no longer shake hands or hug as much as we did during COVID. We don't talk to strangers as much as we did before COVID. And I just see that in social media, of course, like we're getting more and more isolated. And I think, and on top of that, like marketing, I got out of marketing because I was so disgusted by how manipulative it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, they'll have you enter all of your information before you even get to see pricing, and then suddenly you're getting all these emails, and the politicians are trying to manipulate you to get your vote, and so there's increasing amounts of distrust in our society. And so I think this is a beautiful, wonderful way to start breaking down those boundaries, or breaking down those barriers, excuse me. But I do wonder, because, there are problematic people out there who, are very troubled and have some problematic habits. I'm trying to be nice about it. So how do you kind of protect yourself as a professional, and like going to people's homes and stuff like that? Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah. So such an important question. And it's one I get a lot, or at the very least, people aren't maybe even as thoughtful as you asked it. And they boil it down to like, how do you keep yourself safe? And it's so interesting to me, because what I find is that actually this job restores my faith in humanity every day. It restores my faith in what people are. Because what I see most often is that when given the context, opportunity, and support, people will always rise to the occasion. When given the context, the opportunity, and the support, and the safety being context, people want to genuinely be good. They are intrinsically, and all the other things pile on top of it, obfuscating it, whether it's trauma, whether it's environment, all the stuff. So what happens in my space is my ability and training around holding my own boundaries, being very direct, being really clear in communication. I actually am grateful for my autism, in that I had a leg up in being direct. It's my natural operating system anyway. But it's really hard for someone to try to manipulate or get around when I'm looking them in the eye and be like, wait, I'm sorry, are you asking for sex? I want to make sure we're clear.
I love that.
Let me
Right?
just
It's not
ask you a
for me to
question.
just be direct.
Yeah.
Hey, if I'm just like, oh wait, I think you might be getting an erection right now. Can we adjust, or are you comfortable? I know this isn't going to go anywhere, but how can we hold space for this?
Aww.
And like just getting to it's not weird, it's not uncomfortable, it's not taboo. We're just going to talk about the thing because it's normal and it's human, and we're both humans. And de-shaming, like, okay, you want sex, great. Let's find you some ways to access that. I don't do that. That's not going to change. I'm not going to do that. That's just a fact.
Go
ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, as you were saying that, it occurred to me that like people who are looking for that, sorry, I should be on film for this.
We can pause a second. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm having I'm not a great person with technology. So it occurred to me as you were saying that people who are looking for that can just look for it elsewhere. Like you can find that so many other places. So it does make sense to me that like if your platform is just very upfront, like this is platonic and this is what we do, you're likely not gonna encounter many of those people looking to cross those boundaries.
And the people who want to do that thing are going to get real bored and really waste their time and money with me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a good use of their resources. So if I'm just really clear and upfront with that and be like, oh no, this isn't going to happen. And if you try to push any of my boundaries, I'm just going to kick you out. But why would you spend all the time coming to my facility? Why would you spend all the time spending this money? Because I could charge up front. Like, that's a lot of hassle. Why don't you just find the thing that you want in a person who wants to give it to you? And then won't that be better? Won't you really like that? Like, let's enthusiastically
thing too. That's totally fine.
Right.
Go see them.
Yeah. Like, breaking it down to that makes it so much easier. And then also holding what that conversation also has on my end is, again, validation, acceptance, and compassion, right? Like that, the need that I don't find you disgusting for wanting that thing. That's normal. You're allowed to want things. You're allowed to want lots of things. And you're just trying to find where you can get it. I'm not offended by the fact that you were looking for a thing. What you do need to do is when I tell you, oh, you're in the wrong spot, then you go to the right spot. That's the follow-up thing. And most people are like, oh, great, thank you.
I don't think people understand enough that awkward and difficult topics are a lot easier to approach if you just take the stakes out of them. If you just make it chill. And this was one of my tools for dealing with like PDA. And one of the ways to get me to do something is just to take the stakes out of it. Not like, I need you to clean this house by Friday. It just being more, if you want to clean the house, it would really help me out. But whatever, it gives me that freedom, and then it doesn't. I don't feel like there's so much pressure around it. And then I liked how you approached the very natural bodily functions that happen. And I think even if I were a guy, if I had those parts, I'm trying to be PG on TikTok because they'll ban me. But if I had those body parts that had those functions, if you said right in the beginning, like, hey, I know you have a body and you're human, and if this happens, it's not a big deal. Oh my gosh, it would take so much of the pressure out of it. So if that's like a barrier, done. The only reason I'm not taking advantage of these services is I do imagine just like the initial awkwardness of just like when you meet somebody for the first time and you trying to like, it's like the awkwardness of a first date. I'm sure like even like halfway through the first appointment, it's probably way more comfortable. But how do you get past that initial awkwardness?
Mm-hmm. The only thing I would say with that is with the right professional, that feels really easy.
Oh.
With the right professional taking you through those steps and holding you in that space, the thing is, if you're seeking out this service, it's not your responsibility to make that.
Aww.
You don't have to know those things. With the right professional, they're going to be like, great, it sounds like you're a little nervous. Is it around this thing? Great, this is how we navigate that. Or, hey, here's the things. It's okay to be a little nervous. This is the information that you might need. Here's how we'll approach it. Do you have any questions about it? What would you like to adjust? Like, the professional should be holding you through that process.
Yeah, you know what? I'm finding a lot of parallels. I used to be, for 10 years, I owned a photography studio, and I specialized in boudoir photography, which if you guys don't know what that is, it's like women who want to like feel sexy. So it's mostly like lingerie, some nude photography, like just kind of like coming in, and that's a really intimidating thing. And it's not, try and take that from that, like take their nervousness and like, it's sort of like the thing where you're bringing them into your world and trying to like comfort them and be like, and even with the guys, I would sometimes photograph couples and guys would be really worried about certain things happening because they're with their partner in poses. And I would just say it up front, like, hey, do not feel weird if this happens. Like, we'll give you a minute to like relax, go to the bathroom if you need to.
Like human beings, there's like biology.
Yeah, so bringing someone in to like any intimate service you really have to be, some people are just better at putting people at ease than others, and it seems like you probably have that really dialed in.
I think it comes from, and I wonder if you can resonate with this with your work too. There's a way in which people who do this, who are really, really invested and meant to do it, that like we love people. We really love people. We love their stories. We love their experiences. And that shines through. It's like, there's nothing that's going to make me happier than someone to feel and know how valuable they are, how amazing that they are, and then show it to me because I want to celebrate it with them. Genuinely, that's really the 100% of the satisfaction I get, is people realizing how fucking awesome they are. And when we go into these spaces that are vulnerable, I think so much like the deep down, really young parts of ourselves are just like really scared, right? We're scared to be rejected. We're scared to be alone. And that feeds into that isolation thing that you're talking about.
Embarrassed.
Yeah, or embarrassed. That's that. Yeah, they're like, oh, I want people to like me. I don't want to be out. I don't want to be away or rejected or whatever those things are, right? And so if the conversation isn't, will you reject me? If the conversation is, what's the perfect way that the two of us can connect in whatever distance that is, it changes the conversation. It's not either of us are bad. It's not either of us don't want. It's what's our perfect combo.
It's how, yeah. How do we? That's neat. I had another curiosity. Shoot, it was a common one that you get all the time. The common one is the bodily function. The other one is hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we like hygiene so often.
Oh my gosh.
Bless TikTok.
He is my cuddle therapist, let me tell you.
I love it. Animals are fantastic for that. Also, cats are the best at telling you their boundaries. Cats are very clear on it.
It's a great way to describe it.
They know exactly when they're a yes, and they know exactly when they're a no, and you're going to find out exactly the moment that shifts. It's a good lesson for us at some points. Like, oh yeah, when we shift, we should be vocal about it too. Maybe not in the same way the cats are. But your question was, now that I went on a cute furry
Hygiene.
Hygiene, yeah. Bless TikTok. I don't know how many. I feel like maybe one day I'm going to do one of those TikTok compilation videos where you just like the comments that are the same that just pop up all over the screen, right? It's like, what if they stink? What if they're smelly? What if it's just like so many of those. So one of the processes to becoming a client is you look over and read a code of conduct. And the code of conduct is what we both agree to. I'm going to hold to all of these things and you're going to hold to all these things. Instead of a code of conduct, it might even be helpful to think about it as just like, what do we agree is within the scope of what we can do? Where are the edges of where we can explore? And so that's what our code of conduct is. In the code of conduct, there is a stipulation about hygiene. So we're both committing to, it's addressed. It's like you need to be in clothes that are clean and free of intense odors. That could also include like cologne, or it's free of intense odors. Because with my autism, like the sensory, if someone walks in, I might have to turn someone away just as easily if they're doused in cologne as if they haven't showered in a couple of days. Like that would be the same.
I feel that. Yeah. How do you turn someone down? How do you go about that?
Yeah, it's never a comfortable conversation, but it's also not this horribly egregious moment. So
it takes that.
Yeah, it's something we got to navigate, right? But it's how any kind of like boundary conversation goes. If there's any kind of small boundary violation that we need to talk about or address, because sometimes boundary violations are completely purely accidental, and so we can just talk about them. And so what it might look like is first me saying, "Oh, I noticed," or "Hey, do you remember the agreement that we have? I noticed I'm smelling some pretty strong aroma right now. And if you'll remember, we did have an agreement and a stipulation about hygiene. So for today, we won't be able to continue, but I'd love to talk about what you might need, if there's any support you might need, or if you might need any clarity, so that the next time we book, or when we come back to this, that we can be on the same page about it and we won't have to navigate this again." Most of this stuff, though, is taken care of in the consultation process that I do. So it's really rare that these conversations happen, but that's how it goes. And it is a little uncomfortable, but then I hold some space for whatever emotions might come up. And most of the time, the emotions are like a little embarrassed. I'm like, hey, we've all been there. It's really okay. We did both have an agreement. And because it's important that we are showing up and respecting each other, and because, as you mentioned earlier, trust is so key. If we start the session with something that has already slightly broken trust, because we both read the thing, you said you read it, we went over it together, I said I read it, we both said we were going to commit to this thing. And even if it was an accident and we don't do the thing that we said we were going to do, it's a tiny bit of trust that was broken. And this is too vulnerable of a space, it's too emotional of a space, and it's too important of a space to leave those kinks and gaps for breaks in trust. So we can always try again, but for now we got to reset. We got to reset, make sure we're on the same page, and we can try again.
That's great. And do people come back, or are they just so humiliated they don't call you?
I've navigated this in recent years and months, and sometimes it's a really beautiful conversation. I've had a really beautiful conversation with someone who is navigating, when we think of all of the reasons why someone might be having a hard time with hygiene, there could be a ton. I see folks with disabilities. Sometimes mobility is an issue, right? Yeah. So that might be something. Okay, so now it's not you're a bad, stinky person. It's, hey, you're having a challenge with your mobility. What are some problem-solving things that we can do? How can we offer you more support so you can get this thing done? It could be, there's so many people I have had different relationships with my body over my life, varying relationships, including a lot of dysmorphia with my body over my life. And with sensory issues, with my autism, sometimes it is absolutely challenging for me to shower. And in those moments, I'm sure there have been times in my life where, because I couldn't shower, I was probably in a social place where I didn't smell the freshest, right? I can relate to that human experience, because there are just sometimes barriers even to things that we think should be, like society says, should be a built-in, right? Yeah. Well, it's not that simple. And so what I normally do in those moments is like, okay, cool. So if dysmorphia is a factor, if sensory issues are a factor, how do you navigate that? Instead of a shower, can you take a bath? Can you, when you're in a pinch, get a bunch of baby wipes and wipe down head to toe? Is that your access point? Because I'm not going to give you shame for that. If it functions for you for a day and it gets you to where you need to go and it makes your life livable, then that's the solution. And there's no shame in that. So at the
end of the day, these are disabilities. And so we're really just looking at, how do we find you accommodations?
Exactly right. Because most people don't show up being disrespectful. They really don't. Most people are too scared of rejection or embarrassment to show up being disrespectful. There's an education gap. There's a support gap. There's some kind of gap in what they need in order to function, or their ability to function. And we can almost always navigate those gaps.
That's cool. Yeah. Do you have any questions for us? If not, I was going to go to our audience, and then I did have one big thing for you, Keeley. I know you want to talk about
big thing. No, I don't have any more questions. I just want to say it's cool what you're doing. It's really important because it is so well known now that people are lonelier than ever. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a fact. People, like you said earlier, it's like so many things have gone online. So many people are communicating in different ways, and there's just, it seems like we're connected in ways we didn't used to be, but we're also disconnected in a lot of ways because of those things. And so I think having a way to access something like this is really important in the world right now, because loneliness is a real issue. Yeah.
It's an epidemic, according to the Surgeon General.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Diana says, my abusive ex tickled me 25 years to calm me. It has been 8 years since I have even seen him. I wonder, are you, Diana, I'm wondering, are you saying that the tickling became a way of abuse? Because I've actually, I used to be so ticklish, and I used to love tickling. And that happened to me, where it was used against me so much. And tickling is weird, because you're smiling and you're laughing, even if you're completely panicked and miserable. And so if you're saying, stop, please stop, I'm serious, it looks like, please stop, I'm serious. And they don't take you seriously.
Yeah.
And so, yes, that actually conditioned me to hate tickling because now it just sends complete panic in my body. That's a great point.
Interesting physiological facts about tickling if we want to go down this. This is actually a really common topic in my world too, if you're curious about that. So tickling is your body's, it's a danger warning sign for your body.
Oh.
What tickling is. So when we think about tickling, right, where are bodies commonly the most ticklish? Neck, very sensitive, very vulnerable spot. Under the arms, where you can access like lungs and vital organs. Around the waist, where you can access vital organs. Bottom of your feet, if you can't walk and can't run away from danger, right? So tickling is the soft warning sign for our neuroceptors, for our touch receptors, before we get to the danger warning sign. So like there's like that pressure threshold, and this pressure feels good, and that pressure feels a little hard. Like tickling is our body's warning sign. Pay really close attention to this thing because it could get bad quick. And so tickling can be really fun because you're playing in that area. That's part of the reason, like it's a teeny bit of like that little bit. I don't know if adrenaline is happening, but I'm likening it to the experience of like why people like kind of going on dangerous adrenaline things. So it's like, oh, it's kind of fun. This is kind of scary, roller coaster, right?
But it's under their control. Like when it's under their control,
it's under the control. Exactly right. But that's why tickling is you're riding an edge of danger and safety. That is the experience of tickling. And so it is just as easy to tip over into danger. This is bad. This is traumatic. This is not good. Because you're specifically riding that line.
Wow, that's fascinating. You learn everything every day.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that at all.
Oh, Diana says there's never been free safe touch in my 52 years, not ever.
You are not alone, Diana. That is a common thing I hear. I'm so sorry that's your experience.
And you're nationwide, right? Are there any states that you don't have any representatives?
Yes, we're trying to fix that. So I do travel a lot personally, but Cuddleist is a company. We do have some, like, there are food deserts, there's cuddle deserts. But we are trying to that. We've got an initiative this coming year to have regional leaders, and those regional leaders are going to start doing some outreach in those specific gaps. So we're trying, and this will be a little shameless plug. If you know anyone who would be good at this, if you know anyone who holds beautiful, caring, kind space for other people, and they might be beautifully adept at it, tell them to go and get a little training and see if this is something that they want to do for themselves.
Bender wants to apply.
Bender would be great.
He has a permanent biological problem, though. They just want me to make sure I'm paying attention. Yeah, so he immediately violates the rules. But let me see. Q says, Q is just relating to me about how he loves affection and preferred. Cuddling is his preferred mode of affection. In a strictly platonic way. That's wonderful. Hi, Raphael. Am I saying that right? Hello, my friend. Firebow says, I want to learn this. Hi, Keeley. My name is Keeley, too.
Hey.
Keeley's here. Silver Fox says, I also got out of marketing for the same reason. It was making me mad. It's so gross. So gross. Oh, thank you. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. I love those interactive gifts. They're adorable.
Cute.
Q's getting resolved from a perfect amount of likes. And he's saying his experiences are quite aligned with ours. Now my survival I stayed in abuse. Ooh! I've never seen that one before. Thank you, Jenna. That was cool. It was like a rainbow with a little gaming controller. I stayed in abuse because he lightly tickled me. It was worth the 25 years.
Oh my god.
Oh, no one touches you now. Aw. Apparently ASD did not know. Tried to hug my boyfriend last night. Dog stepped on him. He screamed very much. Aw, bummer. Okay. Let me. Then we have finally the chat is working. I think. Just got my.
That's me.
Oh, it's you.
I said that to y'all earlier before we started. It popped up on my phone. I'm like, ooh, I got it. So I didn't realize it would be like social.
Oh, I didn't even connect the chat. The hazards of learning a new platform. Okay, well, at least
We
the
know for
chat's
next time.
active. So
The chat's active.
Okay.
You can go well.
I'm not laughing. I'm dying. I'm sorry, Diana. We have cuddle therapists now. And they tickle.
Tickle is
Right?
the worst. I actually
Do you
like.
tickle?
I like a light tickle on the arm. My mom used to do this to me when I was a kid. This one, and that feels really good. Any other kind of tickling? No, thank you.
Do you tickle, Keeley?
It depends, but yeah, in different contexts. So tickling means a lot of different things to different people, and that's another thing that's like we got to find the thing that matches, right? But the short, easy answer is yeah, yeah. Typically,
Yeah, I found that most of the people I've dated just like a barely fingernails along the skin.
these are my business expense. These are fantastic.
I love it.
Those look great.
She's got really awesome nails.
Nails on.
That's so cool. I'm super intrigued by the fact that you had mentioned, when we were talking earlier, that you were not in this place originally, mentally, emotionally, and that you had kind of a big turning point that brought you to more vulnerability and more interpersonal trust. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I grew up, and the context of how I grew up was like I don't know, very middle America, kind of conservative, Midwestern town, with all of the trappings that can be, especially for someone who's socialized as a woman, in that environment. And so my paradigm, how I operated through the world, is I needed to suppress I was definitely a people pleaser. The goal and the primary need and function that I had was to make other people feel comfortable around me. And if they weren't comfortable around me, it was my fault. And there's a lot that went into that. From as innocuous and kind of fun, even as like being a really good host or hostess for a party, all the way down to like, make sure you're not crying in public because that could make someone uncomfortable. Make sure you're not ever, saying anything that could be possibly construed as rude to someone, even if that answer is no to something that they're asking of you. Like there is a whole lot of that. And in that, there was also a lot of fear of vulnerability and authenticity. I had no idea that I had ADHD or autism. I just knew I was real weird in some moments, and I needed to hide that. So high masking, trying to do the thing that other people were able to do without thinking about it. I didn't know why I couldn't do the thing that they were all doing, being normal, without thinking about it. And so there's a lot of ways in which growing up, I tried to follow these unspoken rules that I didn't understand, that didn't resonate with me, that didn't make a ton of sense, but I was trying desperately to follow them, right? And so that led to a lot of really hard experiences. It led to when I graduated college and moved to Chicago, I was for the first time away from the Midwest, and I was exposed to a brand new city, and it was big, and there's lots of new information coming at me, and lots of different ways of being coming at me. But I did still have all that history, and so I was in a abusive relationship at the time. I had a friend who I had just met this person, and they just, I don't know how else to describe it, but they just glowed. They were one of these people who walks around and is this bright, shiny, lovely beacon that people just desperately want to be around because they are so lovely to be around. They just glow. And I wanted to.
You're that person in my feed.
Oh, Thank you. That's really sweet. I didn't expect that compliment right then. Cool. Thank you. But yeah, so she was just this lovely,
Even on
bright.
your sad days, by the way.
Thank you. I'm not going to lose my train of thought. Ah! That's really,
So
really
you
great.
encountered this person who was like a ray of sunshine.
Yes, it was a huge ray of sunshine. And I was like, I desperately want to be friends with you. And she was like, great, let's foster a friendship. This will be fun. I'm like, yeah, awesome. And one of the things that she was inviting me to, she's like, well, hey, I'm going to go to this event. You're welcome to come with me if you like. It's called a cuddle party. And my immediate response was, ew, that sounds awful. I don't think I want to spend a couple hours with people groping me. No, thank you. You must be crazy. I didn't say all those words, thankfully. I just said, no, thanks. Let's maybe do a movie a little bit later. And like, that was great. But then over the course of a couple of times, this was an event that kept coming up. And as we would try to plan social things or whatnot, she'd be like, hey, I'm going to that thing. If you want to come with, you can. Or you can come meet us for dinner afterward. Okay, I'll meet you for dinner afterward. After like the third or fourth time she invited me to this thing, it kind of clicked because I'm like, I know this person at least well enough to know that they're not bonkers, right? They wouldn't go to an event that I'm imagining that this is like, right? That doesn't make any sense. They're awesome and they wouldn't choose to go back to a place that's creepy and awful. So yeah. I asked a couple more questions and she was so beautifully gracious. She's like, hey, I'll buy your ticket. I'll drive us, which is, if you understand Chicago, that is a huge offer. I'll drive us there. And if in 5 minutes you're really uncomfortable, we'll leave and I'll buy you dinner. I was like, okay, there's no way I can, there's no downside. Yeah, I have every out. The barrier to get there is none. And I'm just going with this person, regardless, I'm going to spend time with this person who I adore. Right. And so I went to this event. And this event, by the way, when I say cuddle party, some people call things cuddle parties. It's like anecdotally, like, oh, my friends came over and we all like ended up in this big cuddle party. This is actually an organization. It's a nonprofit organization that trains facilitators to hold a workshop. And the workshop is structured. And for the first hour, it's education on vulnerability, boundaries, and consent. And then the next 3 hours, you use the communication tools that you've just learned with the facilitator present and helping whenever needed to then engage in like cuddling if you want with the other participants that are there. Again, only within the defined parameters of it and using skills that you've just learned and with the facilitator's help. But when I went, I didn't make it 20 minutes through that welcome circle until I started bawling. Because I had never been in a room where it was being explicitly stated to me and asked and valued. And all these people genuinely wanted to know if I was comfortable, if I was okay. All these people were more invested in me feeling safe and seen than they were invested in me giving them something like a hug. And we practiced saying no. And the response in that space, when you say, hey, can I have a hug? Someone says no. You say, thank you so much for taking care of yourself. I'm really glad you did that. That's the response that you get when you say no in this space. Blew my tiny mind. Blew my mind. And so it's also a space where it's explicitly stated you're allowed to have emotions. If you cry, that's okay. If you laugh, that's okay. You are allowed to have emotions in this space. If they happen, that means you're human. Congratulations. Good job. You're doing humaning right. And it was so, the people there were so beyond kind. So beyond kind. There wasn't superficial, cliquey dynamics that I was trying to navigate. None of that. And I'd never been in a space like that before. And I cried for probably 2 hours of it. And everyone was really sweet and gracious. Like, you still doing okay? Do you need anything? No? Doing great. You're doing great. And like
there was the ones crying on their first time.
Right. And it wasn't like anyone was like, are you okay? You should stop. Like, oh, let's fix it. Let's make it better. Like, no, you're having a bad experience. That's okay. Yeah. If you need anything, we're here. And if you don't, then you're allowed to be here just like you are. And we still want you here. We're not trying to kick you out because you're making us uncomfortable for crying. No, we still want you here. Oh my God. It just like changed my whole mind, changed my whole world. And so after that, like new ADHD hyperfixation unlocked. And I did everything I could to go and learn more about what that was like. It's similar to, there are other communities that have this similar vibe. There's a community called the Authentic Relating Community. It has a very similar ethos around it. But that was really the turning point. And those people at that party are the people that I ended up building and forming relationships enough with. And that party, feeling what it actually felt like to be cared for and respected in that way, was the light bulb moment that I needed to realize that my relationship didn't feel like that. That in my relationship, if I said anything other than what the person wanted to hear, I was wrong, bad, and should be like punished for it. Right. And so it was that light bulb moment that I'm like, oh, this is what right feels like. This is what kindness and love and affection feels like. And so all those people are the ones who like helped me come grab all my shit from that place and get out of there. So
Wow.
It was a really powerful.
Yeah.
Because you maybe could have gone to a traditional therapist, like a talk therapist.
Oh, I was.
Oh, okay. And it's like, was that all in your first exposure there that you had that revelation about your relationship?
It was in the first exposure that I realized how wrong my relationship felt. Wow. And when I finally, there was like a light bulb moment of, oh, that's not normal. That's not normal what I'm experiencing over there. And it took me I think it took me another 2 or 3 months before I was like willing to be like, okay, it's done. And this is abuse and I need to get out. Because that was a little bit more of a process. But that happened at that event, and that didn't happen with my talk therapist. And in fact, one of the things that my talk therapist, I'm not putting this on my talk therapist, she just didn't, I think she just in the moment didn't have the information that she needed to give the kind of advice she was giving at that moment, but she was trying to be helpful. But she ended up telling me at one point to go back to that person. This was prior to this, because there was an on again, off again thing. But she's like, you should go back and have this this good conversation with this person. No, I just needed to get that person the fuck out of my life. Yeah.
So many of us are prone to abusive relationships emotionally and verbally.
There's a real crossover there.
Yeah. And especially us people pleasers. And that's why it's so important to manage and learn healthy boundaries and learn self advocacy. And there is certainly ways to do it and still honor your happy, kind, gentle self. It takes practice, and there's a lot of ups and downs learning it, but it keeps you in those spaces where you're honored and in a healthy space. I'll be honest, I'm kind of an extremist in this sense where I'm a little annoyed that they said you're allowed to have emotions instead of like encouraging emotions. Because I feel like they're so healthy that like I would want, like, this is the space where you get to do all that, so get it out so that when you go out into the world, you're not harboring all these things.
If it's helpful, that's paraphrasing. The actual line from the script of the Welcome Circle is the rule is tears as well as laughter are all welcome. And then it goes on in the script that this is a safe place for tears as well as laughter. All emotions are created equal. And it goes on. I was just paraphrasing in my way.
That's neat. I really like that. So this cuddle party was so integral. I'm so bad with words. I'm sorry. It was so monumental in your finding yourself in this space. And I wonder, like, do you, now that you're an owner of Cuddlist, do you host like parties like this and stuff to spread awareness?
Yeah, so the first thing I did before I became a one-on-one cuddle therapist was I got certified to run cuddle parties. And so I started my business in this world there and realized that the group workshops were really powerful and really transformative. And I would find myself being drawn to spend one-on-one time with participants, and we would just go so deep. And so that's when I realized that, I really actually thoroughly enjoy one-on-one work. So I added the one-on-one work to my business and got more education and more training around the one-on-one work. And now I'm on the board of directors for Cuddle Party, and we are revamping some new of our educational content that's going to be coming out. Since the pandemic, the organization, it's a nonprofit organization, but that organization kind of understandably took a hit because when your whole organization is based on group events where people are touching each other, the pandemic's pretty devastating to that. So we're still rebuilding a lot from that space.
Well, that's on that. So I'm also thinking about how I'm trying to remember how I can tread lightly here. So a lot of us find use in chemicals like medication and other things to relax our nervous systems, be more approachable in certain social settings. Do you have rules around that? I can see where it would be a benefit and also a problem, like, not being actually properly present mentally, versus, being relaxed and not nervous. So I wonder, and being more open and welcoming. So I wonder how you navigate that.
Yeah, excellent question. And there's a lot of nuance there. So the short answer is, in that code of conduct I mentioned earlier, there is a line that says, both participants agree to be free of mind-altering substances so that they can give informed consent. So
yeah, that's a good point.
So without having a huge long paragraph as that thing, there's a lot of nuance to that discussion though, because what does being free of mind-altering substances mean? Does it mean I need to leave my SSRIs at home? No, it doesn't mean that, right? Does it mean that the person who is self-medicating with marijuana needs to make sure that they don't smoke that day? I don't know. Probably not, but I don't know. We have to talk about it. The key and main thing that we need to explore really earnestly and with a lot of integrity is whether or not we both have the ability to give informed consent. That's the key there. And there are other services where those lines can change, but that's because what we can do in those spaces can change. So dear friends of mine offer a similar service. It's not exactly cuddle therapy, but it's like trip sitting, if you're familiar. Are you familiar with trip sitting?
Not the term, but I think I'm familiar with the concept.
Like context clues? Yeah, so there are lots of different kinds of substances that can be used medicinally and for really powerful, whether it's like some people are exploring with psilocybin, some people are exploring with different things that are like MDMA and whatnot. So there is a different kind of service out there that is really adjacent to. It's not the same, but it's very closely related to the kind of space holding that happens in cuddle therapy, with being able to foster a more intense experience for someone who is going through this kind of plant medicine or a medicinal experience, right? But the reason why it's different is because the context has to change. There's a bit more preemptive. We have to establish more lines of consent outside of the session so that we stick to those boundaries that we've set while we're both fully in our ability to give full consent and in our normal like kind of cognition, so that when we're in an altered state, we're not changing any of those preset ideas of what actually is our comfort zone, right? And then maybe afterwards you can reevaluate, be like, actually, yeah, no, now that I experienced that, what I want to add for next time is like elements of this. And there can be like maybe hand holding is really the only kind of physical touch you share, right? Because who knows, I don't know. Just as an example, there's so many variables there. But yeah, so we talk about these substances, but we talk about them in relation to how we are able to get consent is really what it boils down to.
That's neat. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, the reason I asked is because I've been going through a therapy myself, start for the day. But it's prescribed and it's totally supervised by a clinician and everything. But it's really a wonderful way to relax my nervous system and get me. It really, honestly, it gets me out of my PDA. It really gets me. I stop being so resistant to everything and so irritable and and I would imagine that would be really helpful in a setting like that. So that's just why I asked.
There's specialties that, like I know someone who works a lot with folks who are taking ketamine for medicinal reasons. And there's just, unless someone has additional training in what are the impacts of whatever substance that person is, unless someone has additional awareness and some good quality, like scientifically based ideas of how it impacts the body, it's not something that I would really recommend for someone who only has like cuddle therapy training, because it's good. Their body is going to react in maybe non-traditional and non-expected ways.
Right. There's a lot of biological implications, but yeah, you really need a professional, medical professional. So yeah, listen. Do you ever do sessions in public?
Yeah, totally. Huh? So I live really close to a beach, and so I've definitely grabbed a big old picnic blanket, and so everything within the code of conduct, like again, it's all platonic cuddling. There's nothing that wouldn't be okay to do on a beach blanket as long as you're okay with hugging someone on a beach blanket in public.
Sure.
But if someone who is personally really uncomfortable with like PDA and doesn't want to hug other people in public, then that probably wouldn't be the ideal. But oh yeah, I've done that there.
Yeah, that was my question around it. Really, was that I wonder if there's a reason for people to want to do that in public. Like maybe it is like they have a block about PDA that they want a different kind of thing. Not pathological demand but maybe they have a block that they're trying to get over, or are there what kind of circumstances, or is it just that people just want fresh air?
People could just want fresh air. One of the therapeutic benefits to doing that would be some attachment work. So if we've worked on what it feels like to be comfortable with emotional vulnerability in a one-on-one setting, what does it feel like if you're being emotionally vulnerable with someone and there are other people around? It might be kind of a little bit of a leveling up. I would say that public cuddle sessions are less common because in the cuddle session, like it's really important that we feel really safe to be emotionally vulnerable, to share what we're doing, to share really honestly. And if we're worried about all the eyes that might be around us or someone judging us like humans do, then it's not as conducive to that. But that just makes it less common, not impossible by any means. It can also just be a really fun thing. Something that would fall within the realm of cuddle therapy is I've been a support system for someone. So if someone needs to go and get a procedure done or needs to go give blood, and I have a huge aversion to needles, and want someone to hold their hand during that, or go to like get a will read for someone that they've lost.
Oh, wow.
There are definitely occasions for someone to want robust emotional support that includes hugs, that includes care while we're in public. So there's lots of different places that we could go.
Yeah, wow. I didn't think of that.
That's interesting because I was thinking from a medical perspective. I'm a nurse also, and I'm like, this could cross over into different medical settings too. The main thing that popped into my mind was like palliative care and hospice care environments.
Yeah.
That's sort of where my origin story is.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, my mom started out as a NICU nurse. And so my tradition from the time I was really young until probably middle school was we would go with my mom to volunteer to hold the new babies. And every new year, we would go see the very first baby born of the new year. We would be there at midnight at the ball drop when I was really little, see the first baby born of the new year. we would help and hold and rock these babies because they needed that touch to survive. We would volunteer. And so that, from the time I was so little, was instilled in me, like the touch is keeping these babies alive. Then when I was in middle school, my mom transferred to hospice to be a hospice nurse. And just like I'd always done, going in to visit and volunteer with my mom, I went in and volunteered and visited in hospice. And to be sitting with folks who are experiencing terminal restlessness or alone at the end stages of their life, that is really profound. And it is even just a hand holding that you even if they're nonverbal, like their whole body and demeanor completely changes. You see it, you see the power of it. Or to have someone who's like thrashing around, and just by gently stroking their hand and providing a very gentle amount of pressure, they stop thrashing and they settle and their body sits down. Like touch.
Yeah, we need these behavioral centers.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a person who I work with in the company who does who's also a death doula, and then we also have someone who specializes in veteran care as well.
Oh,
There's lots of
That's a
different.
good
Wow.
PTSD. Man, that's amazing. This was so much more dense than I expected.
Sorry. I'm
No, I'm thrilled. I thought we were just like loving hugging, but it's incredible.
We do that too.
Huh? Oh,
We do that too. Yeah.
It's a whole spectrum.
Let me see.
Just like most things.
Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride.
Yeah, it's not even. What is SSDI? I don't know that. No? SSDI? Like, seriously? I don't know. Not even, but food, so I'm sure maybe not covered by insurance, something else. I'm sorry, Diana, I'm having a hard time understanding your comment. Q says it hasn't been tickled in 16 years. Is that a good thing, Q, or are you like Diana missing it? Hi, Stig. Welcome back. Healthy people have little tolerance for sick, unhealthy. It brings them down. I don't know if it's healthy versus unhealthy. I think I don't want to put neurotypicals on blast, but I feel like there's a certain. I think it's uncultured people, maybe, or there's a certain personality type that is uncomfortable with they get sympathy fatigue easily. So I got here late. Who are we talking to? Sorry, Jenna, Walking Song. Welcome. Good to see you. We're talking to Keeley the Cuddle Therapist, if you haven't been updated. And there's so much more into it than I imagined. It's incredible. But it'll be part of the episode that drops in a few weeks. So if you want to go back and watch it, you'll have the opportunity. I understand. Yeah. Thank you for updating her too. I'm trying to keep my comment easy to read. Oh, thank you, Jenna. I appreciate it. Oh, Social Security disability insurance. Okay, got it. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice if this stuff was covered by insurance? There's one of the cons to being unregulated.
I mean, I don't know if I would want to personally navigate dealing with insurances as a provider, but yes, it would be very lovely for people to have more access to it for healthcare that they are already trying to pay for. That I agree with wholeheartedly. Yeah,
that's a lot of red tape to deal with.
Yeah.
You know what? They lied to me. They said that if I paid for a subscription, that the username would show, and it's not. It just says Facebook user. Boo. I'm sorry, Facebook user, but thank you for joining. If you're joining us on this platform here, please put your name so I know who you are, unless you don't care. Okay, sorry, just catching up. Oh, you know what? I did wonder, what do you mean by the babies need this to survive? What is the biology? I've never heard that.
There is I don't like pointing people to this study because the study is really devastating. But they studied, I believe it was a Ukrainian orphanage, and I'm going to try to say this really lightly. So the instances, because of like a discipline involving isolation, there were higher mortality rates at this orphanage. Wow. I don't want to go into it further because it's really some dark shit, but it's a very famous study. And if you type in like Ukrainian orphanage touch study or like isolation study, it'll pop right up if you want to hear all about it. But it's
and do neuroscientists have any like guesses to why, like what's going on in that?
So because of this part, I'm going to summarize my understanding, but the reason why I say I'm summarizing my understanding is I don't have enough information about this besides reporting on a little bit of what I've heard to say I'm an authority on it at all. Sure. But because of the vulnerabilities in early life, like in early childhood, because sicknesses and illnesses can potentially take hold or root in an underdeveloped like body and system, because touch boosts immune system, touch boosts all of our ability to combat things that come up and decreases the cortisol in our body, decreases inflammation. Then without it, the body's defenses are so reduced that it's susceptible to anything. So that's the basics of what and will go into decline, and without proper like if they had perfect nutrition, perfect environment, the body would still go into decline without any touch at all.
Wow.
It might still survive, but the body would still go into decline, of a young body would still go into decline even if everything else is perfect. And then of course you can't say like perfect nutrition, perfect environment, perfect everything else. You're not in a bubble, you're not bubble boy. So there's a high sense of
microbiome is really important in the first years. Come on. This is recording, so that's all loud. Hi Melanie, thank you for joining us, and thank you for saying your name. Sorry about the streaming platform again. Oh, Jenna, that's so sweet. She says, excited for the episode. This is such a need in my life, and I wish there were a way to go about it safely and with respect. And there is. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, not when they... Gwen, hi. I recognize your what do you call it? Avatar. But not the name. Did you change your name? But hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We have Keeley the Cuddle Therapist, who's been informing us all about the benefits and ins and outs of cuddle therapy. It's been fascinating. All right. Man, this has been wonderful. Do you have any other things that you just want people to know? Things you find interesting? I don't know.
Yeah, if people are curious about seeking out a professional, please do vet your professional. And I highly recommend Cuddlist, or if you're in the California area, Cuddle Sanctuary is another really good place to look for them. But ask questions. It's okay to look for a couple of people. And if the first one isn't resonating with you, you get to find the professional that works for you. If you feel like this is something that you're curious about, I highly recommend doing it as a profession. I highly recommend getting some training. Again, I can vouch for Cuddlist. I helped write some of it. And Cuddle Sanctuary is also a really great training. There's one called Cuddle Professionals International. If you're across the pond or somewhere else in the world, they do have a really robust training program as well. But I the world needs more people doing this kind of work, or at the very least destigmatizing it. And if you need support or you need any kind of help, there's no shame in getting any kind of help or getting any kind of support in the ways that feel good for you and your body. So I just want to reiterate that. And if anyone is following or listening who's going to the Asexual Conference in St. Louis this coming weekend, please say hi to me.
Wonderful. The company is Cuddlist, right?
Yes,
One word.
CUDLIST. Mm-hmm.
And then what was the other organization that you mentioned?
Oh, Cuddle Sanctuary.
Cuddle Sanctuary.
Mm-hmm. And then my personal information, I'm at Your Cuddle Therapist on pretty much all social medias, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. So it's Your Cuddle Therapist. And then my email is available through those things. So if someone's curious about it, they are always welcome to submit a booking request and chat with me.
Your Cuddle Therapist, at Your Cuddle Therapist, all one word, any platform. And we'll have her tagged in anywhere where we post this too. I'm considering it because I would love doing that. I am a little worried about safety. I'm in Fresno, and we're pretty. I don't know. We're in an area that's like been busted for trafficking and.
We'll chat, and we'll chat. I'll send you some referrals for people I know out in the area.
Oh, okay, awesome.
Yeah, don't you worry.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, thanks so much, Keeley. This has been amazing.
I love chatting. Thank you so much for having me. We'll be in touch. I'm so excited about chatting with your audience and everything. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Do you guys have any questions for her before she goes? We've covered pretty much everything.
We did.
Just thanking you. Firewell says, thank you, Keeley. This was so awesome.
You're so welcome. So welcome.
All right, my friend. Have a beautiful weekend. Thank you so much for joining.
You too. Happy Pride Week.
Yeah, happy Pride.
You too.
Woo! Oh my goodness, that was fascinating. Yeah, my mind is blown.
Yeah.
How much did you guys learn about cuddle therapy? The most?
That was a lot more than I thought it was going to be, for sure. Really cool.
Wow.
It sounds
It's
really
so
cool.
beneficial. Holy cow.
So I think for me, I'll just start with Gray, my partner, if you guys don't know. Because we're not like super cuddly. Like every once in a while we'll do like a little bit of cuddling. But I think maybe I'll try and start kind of be like, oh, maybe we'll start trying to cuddle with my significant other a little bit more often and get more comfortable there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds really, really interesting.
Well, I kind of want to pick your brain because I can't wrap my head around not being affectionate. So I wonder, like, do you feel, remember how we were talking about like the masking thing and like a lot of the antisocial stuff is about like just not being able to be yourself and not being around people that would like you.
Yeah.
Is it kind of the same with physical affection? Is it like there's too much anxiety around it because there's too much to think about and too much to navigate? Or
I can only speak for myself, honestly. Sure. I think for me there's a myriad of different things. It's not that I don't like affection, because I do. I do like hugs from people who I want hugs with. You know what I mean? Like, hugs are nice, but I kind of want it to be at my discretion.
Sure.
Or, like, if I have a close friend who I've been friends with for a long time, like, I don't mind a hug from them. But, so it's just sort of like, for me, I want to be able to have discretion with who's giving me the touch, how long the touch lasts. So, like, hugging is one thing, but, like, full-on cuddling is a different thing. That's like you're settling in. And there's a lot that goes along with that, you know? Like, sometimes you're just not comfortable, or it feels like you can't move. The thing that she said about fidgeting made a lot of sense to me, because I'm a very, like, fidgety person, and so is Gray. My partner is too. We both have ADHD, and sometimes I'll either want to, like, fidget or move around more than I can if I'm cuddled up with someone, or Gray, I'll be comfortable and Gray will be fidgeting, and then it bothers me, and I'm like, okay, we have to separate. Like, so I think there's a lot that goes into it, and then for people who, like, there's sensory stuff that can go into it too. Like she mentioned, cologne or perfume or scents. Sometimes you hug someone and it's like, there's one person in particular I can think of who is a older guy in the family who, like, whenever we see him and he gives me a hug, it's a lot of cologne, but it also like rubs off on me.
Yeah, and the rest
So then
of the
I
day.
can smell it, like, and I'm just like, I didn't want to wear cologne, and now I'm wearing cologne.
Men's cologne.
So there's just a lot that goes into touch and physicality, and sometimes it's hot, and sometimes you just aren't. You're like overstimulated already, and someone like being near you and on top of you and in the vicinity is just like,
Yeah.
like
Body temperature is
Yeah,
another thing.
there's so
Sometimes
much
people are just
about
too
it.
hot.
sometimes like if you can hit the sweet spot though, where it just feels nice, then a cuddle is nice. If it's like the conditions got to really line up though,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, I never thought. I've never really thought of those things. But you're right. Like when my dog cuddles me in bed, I'll just let him do whatever, and I will let myself be in a lot of pain. I just did this last night for like 2 hours. It was in my arm, and my shoulder is like sore, and I can't get my back right. I'm like trying to shove pillows in my back, trying not to wake him up. But it's so sweet.
The things
Come on,
we do
baby.
for our kids.
No.
Maybe you're more patient or tolerant person than I am. Because I'd be
I
like,
don't-
okay, let's adjust. Pupper, you can stay here, but we need to.
I get
Adjust.
creative about adjusting them. We've developed a scooch method where I go, I'm going to scooch you, and I take the blanket that they're on, and I just kind of scoot the blanket.
Yeah.
Um.
Gargoyle said this was a good live.
Aww.
Thank you.
Listen, there's still much more to come.
Yeah.
And giveaways. We have giveaways.
Yeah, this is good.
Q said, wow, so much. Didn't even know it existed. Jenna says cuddling is such a big thing, and my partner never really enjoyed it. He thinks it's too much.
Yeah, I relate. It's hard if you're mismatched. Like, I'm
Yeah.
glad that Gray and I are sort of similar in our how much we like to cuddle or how much we don't like to cuddle. I guess
Yeah.
glass half empty, glass half.
Yeah.
Because that would be hard if you're a super cuddly, affectionate person. How's your partner? Because you said you love to cuddle.
Yes, and sorry, I'm trying to we gotta get closer here. Sorry. So Jarrett is he's a lot like you in most of his tendencies as far as like stimuli and the way his neurodivergence is manifested. He is very physically affectionate in just cuddling, like the type of cuddling that Keeley does, like very just sweet, like I just love being with you kind of cuddle. The romance kind of affection that's not a thing.
Okay.
Which is like there's a piece of me that's kind of like, oh, I really like that stuff. I want to kiss you. I want to stick my tongue down your throat. But but because I do get the other physical affection, I don't feel super deprived.
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
romantic stuff like that is fine. I feel like that's a different category.
Yeah.
Cuddling.
Yeah.
Cuddling. Cuddling.
Hello, everybody. Letting someone into personal space is a huge deal. Tammy, man, I want to unpack that so badly. Because I wonder if that's like, is that a part of your neurodivergence or is that a trauma thing? Is that because you never felt, because you were your space was personally violated in your life and that's what made you feel that way? Because to me, I'll welcome a stranger. You can play with my hair and I've never met you. So that it's super interesting to me how we differ like that. But I did have a very loving upbringing. I was not taught boundaries, so I was prone to abusive relationships and stuff like that. But the great thing about my upbringing was that I was surrounded by people like me, and I was always just allowed to be my weird self. Because my whole family was weird, and my friends were all weird. We're all weird together, and so nobody judged it. People may have judged it out there, but we didn't care. So yeah, I'm super lucky that way, and that's why I wonder, like, is I always wonder if that part of me, if that part of my past influences some of these differences between us. And I do actually wonder, like, I'm starting to wonder more and more if the reason I don't fit a full autism diagnosis is because of that. Because I don't have any, I wonder if some of those social cue things never manifested that way because I never was self-conscious. And so I always just did everything instinctually. And so I never like worried about, am I interpreting this right? Or am I coming across right? So, yeah, so it's super interesting to me.
Yeah, my mom has told me that I have not liked cuddling since birth. Yeah, for real. Like, she was like, even when I was new and she was still breastfeeding me, like that age where I'd be like, okay, feed me, and then I don't want anything else to do. And like, as I grew into like, you know, my first year of life, my first couple of years of life, she's like, oh, I would try and pick you up and cuddle you and snuggle you and swallow you, and I would just get like,
wow.
And I thought that was really interesting because obviously I don't have a memory of that because I'm too young, I was too young. But also my daughter, might be watching, I don't know if she was going to watch today, but she was also a lot like that. And still is. She's very touch averse. I'll try and hug her and cuddle her sometimes, and she's like, Yesterday I was trying to hug her because I had sort of like not yesterday, it was Thursday, I had my clinical day, and I had like sort of a traumatic, not traumatic, but it was an emotional day because of one of the patients I had was around her age and was not in a good way. And I just wanted to come home and like give her the biggest hug. And I was like, please let me hug you. And she's like, okay. And the whole time she's just like stiff and I'm like hugging her and I'm like, okay, thank you for letting me do that. But so it's funny because it's like, well, she has that quality too, I guess. So that's about it for me.
That is an interesting thing. That kind of brings up one dynamic with Jared is that I do that. This is actually the first thing that set me off thinking that he was autistic. But before I even knew what autism really was, I knew what Asperger's was just because like my stepbrother was diagnosed with it, and I kind of just heard briefly what it was about. But there's no like reciprocation, and I don't mean if I hug him, he doesn't hug me back. He does, but it's very like mechanical.
This is what I'm supposed
to do. Exactly. There's no like melting. You know what I mean? There's no like I turn to him and he turns to me instinctually. Or I hug him and he leans into it and melts into me. It's not that. It's laying here, I hug him, and he's still laying here.
Why does it step his board? And I think that can be we don't want to clump all autistics into that because there are some autistic people who really enjoy touch.
Probably me.
My son is also autistic. My older child, who's 26, he's always we're sure he's autistic. He hasn't gotten a formal diagnosis yet, but it's like, now we know. But he's always loved touch and cuddling and hugs, and he's very different in that way than I am. And for sure, how his sister is my daughter. They're like night and day people in general. So there are some autistic people who it comes more naturally, and they can kind of like melt into a hug, and they really do enjoy that pressure of a hug and the sensation of feeling next to somebody and stuff. It's just sort of like a thing. But I think, what you're describing is very
can be an autistic trait. Yeah,
not red flag in a bad way. But
like, an indicator. So, a lot of this conversation does make me think about like how oxytocin is involved, and I wonder if like because I'm gonna get into this later in the next episode, but just briefly. I have a tendency to like be low on most neurotransmitters, which makes me be extra all the time because I'm always seeking all these neurotransmitters. And I think oxytocin is one of them. I think that's why I'm so like seeking affection all the time, is because I'm just chronically low on oxytocin. And I did read, and I think, you know, like we discussed in the episode that drops today, you're going to see a lot about how these neurodivergencies really span both ends of the extremes. And I wonder if there's a lot of autistic people who are high oxytocin and so don't need that, don't seek it out. And I do wonder if it also affects empathy levels, because the one that drops today, episode 4, we talk a lot about how our empathy levels are so different from person to person, and the types of empathy. So anyway, so fascinating to me.
Chemicals.
Do you guys have anything to say? Otherwise, we'll move on to our first segment. Thank God for animals, yeah. I remember the sensation. I remember I had gone like a year and a half without like dating anyone. And I remember going to hairstylist or makeup artist or somebody, and they just like, they put their hand on my arm, and I just was like, oh.
You really
Remember
the
that.
cuddle therapist during that period of time.
Yeah, no kidding. Everyone always seems to have led to the romance of my partners. Honestly, makes me not. Yeah, and
yeah.
I hope that you're able to like have that conversation with them at some point, because it's so important. Yeah, some people just automatically equate that to romance, and there really should be space for just because of how it helps us as people. So yeah, and if you need help approaching difficult topics, Keeley's a master at that.
Yeah.
Just takes the stakes right out of it. It always gets asked regardless. What gets asked? If I don't remember it. Oh, the trauma had to be very early on, because remember as a toddler not loving affection in my face. So like Melissa. I remember that too about myself. Sometimes I prefer cuddling over other stuff. Yeah. I'm like her, I think I was standoffish since birth. Yeah, wow, that's so fascinating. Yeah, I wonder if y'all are just really high oxytocin, so you just don't need
Plus oxytocin.
Do you feel like emotionally connected to people very easily? Minus the touch.
What do you mean by emotional?
Like adopting friends really easily. Like just liking something.
No.
Like taking out their end of it, just on your end, like wanting to be friends with people and feeling like you know them and like them pretty quickly. Yeah. Interesting.
I would say not very often. I really have to, not that I don't like people. I like people, I enjoy meeting new people, whatever, but for me to feel like connected and like I want to form a relationship with that person, something has to click. I'm not even sure what it is. It's just sometimes you feel a thing for a person.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't happen like super often for me, where I'm like motivated to pursue more with them. It's kind of, and I do think that's an autism thing, where it's just like, I really enjoy my solitude and spending time with myself or with my comfort people, my family mostly.
Yeah.
And being around people who aren't that, to me,
Yeah.
can be really hard. And I'm not going to expose myself to that unless it's a person that I'm like super interested in getting to know or super interested in being around.
You have lived in, because I wonder how much of that is just Fresno and just like the number of people that you relate to is like so low, because that's my experience. I wonder, have you lived in an area where there was more people like you, and did you have that same? Did you find yourself like clicking with more people and wanting to be around them more? Or still enjoying isolation?
No, I feel like I've always been the same way. Like, I have really close friends and people who I adore in my life. It's just finding those people over the years has been, I think, a harder task for me than it would be for someone else. Because I am a little bit more kind of particular. I need to like feel something for you.
Yeah.
We're building a relationship.
Sure.
So like, yeah, it's definitely, that's one of the things that I've talked about on my other podcasts is like the difficulty of friendships, making friends and keeping friendships going that's partially.
What's the struggle with keeping friendships going? Like you just don't feel compelled to reach out very often, or
I think there's a lot to it, but I think part of it is ADHD related.
Yeah, but they shouldn't, like, my friends, we go 3 years without talking and then we pick it right back up like we never
have people like that.
conversation.
I have people like that in my life, for sure. I have a couple of friends like that, but like
some people do get, but
when you're trying to forge new friendships, I feel like you need to be kind of like more proactive. And I sometimes am just like, I feel like I'm too distracted, or I have the like object permanence thing, but it happens with people a lot.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, someone will pop into my head, and I'm like, oh, I forgot that person existed. Like not in a mean way, but just like I forgot about you. And I'll be like, oh, I need to like text them, but then that's gone. Within a minute, that's gone, and I'll think about them again like in another month and be like, oh, I need to text them, and then it's gone, and I'm on to something else already. So
that's super. I feel it. See, there's another example of like that's so standard with all of my friendships, and I've never felt the pressure to be any other way.
Yeah,
I've never felt like nobody's ever gotten butthurt that I didn't text them back for 5 months, or like went 2 years without even saying hi. You know, it's just like wherever. Even my dad and my brother, like I'll text him out of nowhere, like, look at this candy that I got. Yeah, you know.
Maybe it's not so much I'm not worried about their perception of it, but my own perception of that particular issue. Because sometimes that I feel there's, like I said, there's certain friends that I have that my best friends since childhood and I sometimes don't exchange a text message or a phone call for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. She comes and visits once a year. We know we're gonna get a solid block of time in there, but like, and it's no big deal. But with other people, I sometimes feel weird reaching out after so long and being like, hi. Like, I don't
just
I
thought
feel
of you, but it's not
creepy. Self-conscious. I also dealt with a lot of like bullying and like exclusion growing up, and so I think I have like weird like friendship trauma because of that, where I like feel like I'm gonna bother somebody, or maybe they don't really like me. I like them, but they don't really like me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I remember there were times growing up where I thought I was friends with someone, but it turns out like I had the wrong idea.
Yeah, turns out everybody,
Yeah, and so that's following me into adulthood for sure, where I'm like, does this person really like me? Like, are they just being nice?
I want to rehab y'all for this because I have a lot of the same things, but I've been able to really get past it so quickly from just being around ADHDers so much. Like, when I gotta tell you, the conference, the ADHD conference, the international conference, if you can afford to go, please go. It is the most healing, incredible atmosphere to just be surrounded by 100% your people. And it was so funny because we all got rejection sensitivity at the same time. And we all like spent an hour stewing in it, and then reached out via text and went, you too? Me too. I thought everybody hated me. I thought you hated me. And we all just kind of went, oh.
It's like, I'm annoying. I'm boring. I'm not interesting.
And then we all just loved each other and was like, I don't hate you at all. I love you so much.
It's a definite hurdle. I'm getting better at it, and especially since getting both of those diagnoses and learning more things about myself. And I do have my little pocket of people in Fresno that I've found that are truly like people who I'm very comfortable around, and I finally have like an actual group of friends who I'm comfortable with, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But just sort of like allowing yourself to exist in the world in a particular way is very healing too. Being like, you know what, I am easily distracted and I do forget about people, and that's okay. Like I have a lot going on in my day. It doesn't.
I assume people are as busy as I am.
Yeah.
Text me when you think of it. Cool.
Yeah.
So Tammy, I got mixed up with Celine. My son is mechanical. Depends on when I'm effort, so I can read them. Oh, that's good. I said ADHD at 35. Everything was difficult for me growing up while everyone just coasted by. Really good at reading people. I don't like being social. People overwhelm me. What about your people though? What if you find, are there certain people that you find, Celine, that don't make you feel that way? That you just like relax around and it's not taxing? But I think that's really what I'm forced to be. Q says, same. I literally just got in touch with a friend who didn't talk to for 4 years and nothing changed.
Those are the good friends to have. I have a couple of those, and it's just like,
yeah, and it'll be totally random too. It'll be like a movie quote or something. Or look what I got. No, oh wait. He's newly ADHD diagnosed too. Yeah, when I got diagnosed, I did like a mass text to everybody I knew. I was like, just so you know, I think this is why I love you. I'm pretty sure everyone hated me. I would get left out of plans a lot.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that is tough. Plus I was a little sister, so like as close as my brother and I were, when he was around his friends, we don't want his little sister around.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I have that. I am constantly reading, like, am I wanted here or not? So, but thankfully, like having friends who just like love me and were just like me kind of healed a lot of that. Okay, so first segment is friends and followers, obviously. You want to go first?
Okay. Mine is actually.
Oh, hold on. Let me turn the GoPro.
Oh, okay. Friends and followers.
Did you guys enjoy Keeley? What did you learn about cuddle therapy? I learned so much. I can't even.
It was so good.
It's amazing. I didn't know she knew so much about neurodivergence and catered to it so much in her therapy. Like I knew she, as a person, she knew about it, but why does it say still too hot? Hold on. I'm not allowed to have good posture. It's just not a good block. So I keep wanting to sit like this, and I'm like, I'm afraid I'm maybe other way.
You're not. You're not bad.
Cool. Cute. All right, our first segment is friends and followers. Yay, friends and followers.
Friends and followers. Okay, my first one is it's an app, it's a website, it's a service that I use. It's called Inner Dimension.
Inter or inner?
Inner Dimension. And it is a online, my brain just went totally like blank on me.
You got Etch-a-Sketched.
It was like, what is talking? What are words? It's a yoga, online yoga.
Oh,
online yoga, but it's okay. So
this is like instructional
yoga, very, very high quality instructors, high quality videos. They have all different types of yoga on there. They have yin yoga. If you don't know, that's just like basically stretching. They have power yoga. They have restorative yoga. They also have a lot of different meditation practices. They have long ones, they have short ones, they have daily ones. It's a very good program if you're interested in yoga, if you're interested in meditation. I know there are a lot of people out there like me who like movement and movement-based activities. And I was never really into yoga very much consistently until I found Interdimension. So it's really close to my heart. It is a paid service. They have some videos for free on YouTube, and that's how I found them. I was Googling yoga videos on YouTube, so I was trying to stretch more. This is back when I was doing a lot of CrossFit, and my body was like the Tin Man. And I was like, I need to start stretching more. And I wanted to get consistently into yoga, but I could never stick with it. And so I found some of their videos on YouTube, and I really liked it. And then I found out they have this service. And it's like $15 a month, but I mean, that's really inexpensive compared to
I mean, you go to a class,
join the yoga class. Yeah. So that's my first one because it's been a couple of years that I've been subscribed to that, and I do yoga probably on a bad week 3 times, on a good week almost every day.
Wow.
Because I love their videos. You can choose short videos if you have like 15 minutes. They have 15-minute ones. They have hour-long ones. It's just like, it's very versatile, or like you can.
The words aren't coming. The working memory is starting to shut down.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to subscribe to Beachbody when COVID hit. And that is, oh my God, they've got a whole library of stuff. They got yoga, they got all sorts of different dance style classes of all levels, and like endurance and strength training. It's incredible, but it's more expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's neat. My first one is Alexa Rowe. I found her, first of all, neither of my recommendations are neurodivergent targeted, because I feel like everything that I like is neurodivergent. So I'm just going with it.
Yeah.
But Alexa Rowe, she's hilarious and awesome, and I want to be her friend. I found her from, I think it's her most viral video, where she reenacts like her as a kid playing pretend as a mermaid, and she does like the whole what people expect us, what people expected, what people thought our let's play pretend was as a kid, and what it actually was, and what they thought it was is just like, oh yeah, look, I'm the pretty mermaid swimming around. And she was like, you have to go, they're gonna murder us, it's a war, it's an undersea war, and I have special powers. And she added in all this like competitive elements with her fellow friend mermaids, and was like,
God.
You don't have that power, I do, and my tail's better than yours. But she nails it. I'm not doing it justice. She's hilarious. You gotta look her up. Very accurate. Second one.
My second one. Neither of mine are really like neurodivergent related either. They're just more based on my interests. Let's talk about me and my interests.
It's probably gonna be neurodivergent than me anyway.
It probably will be. My second one is Star Talk. It is a podcast. You can also find Star Talk. I know that's very on brand for our backdrop. Podcast, Star Talk, and on Instagram at least as Star Talk, but it is Neil deGrasse Tyson with comedian Chuck Nice, and the podcast is great. And so Neil deGrasse Tyson is a person who is astonishing to me. His brain is just an endless plethora of knowledge, and the podcast is mostly about like physics, space, astronomy, what have you. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, but sometimes they do podcast topics that are a little bit more outside of the astronomy realm, but they still kind of relate to science and physics in an interesting way. I know they do some sports ones that are like there was one that was based around like baseball and the physics of baseball, and it was really interesting, like the speed of the ball, the way you swing the bat, like all of the things that are kind of like related to physics in the world of that particular sport. And it's pretty interesting to listen to. But I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm a huge fan of his, and I think the way he explains things really like gels with my brain, because physics is like a really complicated subject, and astronomy can be a really complicated subject. And he talks about things in a way that are very digestible and kind of down to earth. So Star Talk, it's a good one.
I was gonna say that about Neil deGrasse Tyson. What I love most about him is how he puts things in just very relatable terms, and he doesn't get lost in the jargon. He really makes it digestible for anybody, and he's very watchable. I don't know. He has kind of like an adorable energy that I enjoy.
Yeah. Same. I'm pretty sure he's probably he's one of us. Maybe he's got very amazing memory recall. The things that he just says off the top of his head about every single topic he can imagine. I'm like, how do you know and remember all this stuff? It's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, my second one is Micah and Sarah. Hilarious couple. These two are like being back in the dorm at musical theater school. They are both, I don't even really know their backgrounds, but I can tell you that they're musical theater kids because they do so much like musical theater content, and they have beautiful voices, even though it's comedy. And they'll like do silly pranks on each other that have not like mean pranks, but like little song type pranks. And it brings a smile to my face every time they're on my TV. I did stitch one of their videos, I think, when Micah was like self-celebrating all the little things that he did around the house and was doing all these like silly dances of like, I cleaned up my powder. But yeah, they're hilarious and adorable and so much fun to watch. Just being silly. And I love it because it's a great example of people who live unmasked. You know, they just let themselves be silly, and they match each other so well and and each other so well. And there's never any like judgment or shame or awkwardness. They just go with it. You know, love it. Okay. So we have you might be neurodivergent if.
Oh, our next set.
Yeah. I think that I should probably. Oh, we should do a giveaway, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, Firebow, you're so sweet. Sorry, let me catch up on some comments here. Oh yeah. I can hang out with my loved ones, not for long. I think my social battery again. So yeah, to just overstimulation, the tax. That was very cool. I love the multitude benefits for the Oh, you shared the live. Thanks, Jenna. By the way, Jenna, I've been meaning to reach out to you. I've just been super swamped. It'll probably be after school. I graduate at the end of June this month. And then I can get serious about like scheduling guests and stuff, but I still want to like dive into your story. Which is a really fascinating SUV story. I can't give you hints because that's pretty much all I know. I'm so grateful I landed here today. Thank you. I have to run. It was nice to meet you. Oh, Fireball, thanks for joining us. Okay, who's still here? We're gonna do a giveaway. Giveaway time. We can do who wants fidgets? First of all, I can do stickers internationally. That's fine because I can just stick it in an envelope. But any other giveaways have to be United States, and everybody has to be 18 or over. So Q, I can give you stickers. I'm sorry, you're just gonna get bombarded with stickers as long as you're my follower. Okay, so I guess we do fidgets.
Yeah.
You guys want fidgets? Or another option would be walnut snacks. Or stickers, positivity stickers. So if you don't say anything, I'm just gonna go with fidgets.
Fidgets. Yeah. You guys want fidgets?
So these are Stimags. They're little magnets that make little shapes and click together. And it's kind of gives the same sensation for me as like a cookie tin, but not so abrasive and loud. So you're not going to annoy everybody in the house with it. And it's a little more stimmy because you get to kind of play with it and make shapes if you want. I also like it because it doesn't look like a kid's toy, so you can have it at work, and it still kind of looks professional because it just really looks like a tool.
Yeah, these are really cool. They're super fun.
Who wants Stimags? Who wants them?
Anybody want a stim mag?
The breadth of what cuddle therapists can do is amazing, right? I totally agree. It's incredible. She really blew our minds today. Do you guys want Stimags? Who wants them? And takers, Bliss Talking's here. Hi, Bliss. Do you want Stimags? We're giving them out. Or do you have them already? Or are you international? I forgot. Anybody? No takers? No takers? Oh, no, that's nice. Yes. Okay. Do you want Stimags? Do you have any yet? Not that you can't have more, but. Oh, thank you, Millie. We're filming a video podcast. It's called Keeping It Weird. It's new. We're gonna release the 4th episode today after we're done filming. The ones that we film are about a month behind. You'll see them edited and posted in about a month. But you guys get to be a part of our live audience. You see all the ins and outs behind the scenes, and you get to be part of our giveaways. And part of this conversation. You don't have any? Okay, great. Bliss Talks gets a Stimags. What color do you want? What's your favorite color? I have pretty much everything. Orange, green, blue, black, light pink, purple. Anybody else want Stimags? In the US? Oh, the device is I have a Z Fold 5. Z Fold 5. I think it's by Galaxy. Light pink or orange. You got it, Missy. Okay. Anybody else? Last call. Last call.
Anybody else want a stim mag?
I gotta write this down. I don't to forget. Bliss, do I already have your address or no? If not, please DM me your address. Your shipping address.
Oh, somebody over here wants one.
Okay.
Martina Bright. What color?
What color?
Yes, please. Green?
Green.
Is there green?
Sure. Just please DM us your shipping address.
Your shipping address, yeah.
Sorry, what was the name? Is your name?
Martina Bright. Yeah, these are cool. Danica, my daughter, has one. She won one last time.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're very entertaining to play, just like fidget with for sure. Very versatile.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Cool beans. Okay, so I'm going to go get my cool pack real quick. Do you want to do your here you might be in your divergent while I do that? Or you want to wait until I get that?
I'll wait for you. Go. They said go.
Walk amongst yourself.
Walk amongst yourselves. Yeah. My battery is low, guys. My spoons be running out. I made the mistake of going to the Pride Parade this morning before coming over here, and it was a lot. Like, it was a lot of stimulation very early in the day. So, I'm over here just hanging on by the thread. Trying to not run out of words or energy to talk. It's hard. Rough life. In Budapest, Pride Parade is still a protest. Oh no. There were definitely protesters there. There were protesters there today. Luckily, the police were there and did a pretty good job of...
Protesters?
Yeah,
Give me a break. What year is this?
I know. They had all of their, like, repent signs.
Sorry to laugh at
I know,
religious stuff,
it is, I mean, that type of religious stuff is laughable. Not all religious people are like that, I know, but like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of their Jesus hates you signs and like repent or go to hell or whatever. It was pretty interesting. That kind of stuff.
Gross is the word that comes to
Gross,
mind.
That kind of stuff only bothers me to a certain extent because I just kind of feel bad for those people, to be honest.
It's really just a result of being like culturally sheltered and ignorant.
Ignorance. Ignorance
People
is
can't
not
help their own
bliss.
ignorance.
Yeah.
If they don't know what they don't know.
Exactly. So yeah, they got shooed out, so it wasn't too bad.
Shoot out by the police or just
Yeah, there were police there trying to keep the peace.
You, I don't know what you're referring to about what I'm referring to. Stay hydrated. Love you back. Thanks for joining us. In Budapest, Q says, in Budapest, Pride Parade is still a protest.
The person said, LOL, if heaven is full of them, I don't want it. Good point. Yeah.
That doesn't sound like heaven to me.
No, for sure not.
Okay, so
Okay. Next segment.
next segment is you might be neurodivergent.
You might be neurodivergent if... Okay.
Do you know yours?
So for me, mine is, I think, centered around the autistic and ADHD profile, those two things together. You might be ADHD. I know. If you cannot decide what you like and what you don't like. So for me, it's hard because I'm like Jekyll and Hyde in my brain sometimes. It's like having autism and ADHD at the same time can be like a tug of war. And there are certain days where I will love a particular thing, and there are certain days that very same thing, I can't tolerate it at all. So, and I think it just depends on many factors. How much sleep I got, where I'm at in my monthly cycle, like how much stimulation I've already had that day, you know, my general mood overall. It's just like so many factors go into it. There are sometimes I'm like, I hate this thing, or I hate this, or I don't like it, I can't tolerate. And then other days I'm like, all I want is this thing. So it's very weird to experience that sort of dichotomy in your own brain where it's like, do I like this thing or do I hate it? I have no idea.
That's so funny. I don't know if I relate or not.
So I'll give an example.
Okay.
One thing is loud music.
Oh.
Sometimes I really want to rock out with some loud music.
Yeah.
Whether it be in my house, in my car, it feels really good to me, like to put on the loud music, vibe to it, dance to it, whatever. There are other days where I cannot handle it at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want music, I don't want sound, I don't want anything at all near my ear holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah, I think that one is related just to like my stress levels and my norepinephrine levels. Because that norepinephrine, like, lets in all the stimuli and doesn't allow you to filter it out. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a scenario where that's. I pretty much have the same preferences across the board.
Yeah, there's not certain things where you like it.
I guess there's things like caring about my appearance. Like sometimes I'm just like, but those are kind of phases. It'll be like weeks where I'm just like, fuck makeup, I hate it, I have pressure, I want to love myself natural. And then there's times where I'm not pretty, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's interesting. But I do hear that a lot about people who are diagnosed both. Like it's a constant like battle between them.
Right.
And I get that. And like cleanliness, like you want to be super clean, and then sometimes you're just like you are messy because you can't bring yourself to be clean, but you really want it to be clean, and it's like
yeah, it's
kind of
like
fighting against yourself.
It's like making plans ahead of time is hard for me because I'm like, there are some times that I love being social. I feel like going out. I feel like getting dressed. I feel like doing all the things and going out, being social, talking to people, blah, blah. Then there are other days where that sounds like the most horrific experience. I get everything done. And of course, it's like the day that I made plans a week ago. I'm like, yeah, next Monday, let's do this thing. And then that Monday comes and I'm like, ADHD Melissa made that plan. Now autistic Melissa just wants to stay home alone and hyper focus on a thing. But yeah, it's sort of like a weird. Yeah. So that's mine.
Mine is you might be neurodivergent if you have colored hair.
That is
Brightly exotic colored hair. Purple, pink, red, green, blue. Not a natural color.
yeah, that is a very
It's
nice
usually my best like public identifier of my people.
We're like colored hair.
Obviously
I see
this
you.
is not like diagnostic criteria, but that's kind of you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I immediately know that I'm gonna get along with you if you have colored hair. Okay, cool. So Q, you're in the spotlight. Oopsie, what did I just do? Oh, I pinned him. Sorry. How do I unpin?
Oh god.
All the things.
I thought that was your phone making that noise. I was like, whoa. Yes, pink hair queens unite. Martina has pink hair, I guess.
Oh, neat. Or multicolored hair. Sometimes we go rainbow, you know.
Somebody at the Pride Parade this morning had trans hair.
Oh, neat. Like a pink, blue,
Like white ombre situation. It was really nice. I was like, wow, that looks good.
Okay. Well, Q, unfortunately, I'm not tech savvy, so I can't like post it right now for everybody to see. So I have to do it when I edit.
What is it?
It's a artwork that he did. Actually, I wonder. I can, but not on this platform. It would be on Facebook, where we're recording. But Melissa needs to see it anyway, so I should bring it up.
Yeah, I want to see. This is part of our segment.
Okay, so
look what I can do.
Sorry, I just stepped all over your announcement. Go for it. Try it again.
Oh, this is for our segment. What's the next segment? Look what I can do. This is where any of you guys, if you want to have us showcase a talent that you have, it can be anything. It can be art. Do you crochet? Do you needlepoint? Do you paint? Are you a tattoo artist? Are you a dancer? Are you a singer? Are you a roller skater? Are you a gymnast? Are you a... Oh.
So I like the story that he gave along with it.
That's not, I was asking what's the talent. Does anyone have a talent?
So Q says, I used to draw in my teens, and due to some stuff, I stopped at age 16 in 2011, right when I started. Oh, sorry. You know what, Q, is it okay to share this story? Or was this story just from my personal knowledge? Okay. So I stopped at age 16 in 2011, right when I started to get better at it. I don't have a good picture of it. in 2021, I moved to Hungary as part of a scholarship. In philosophy class, I was required to present something or a talent, be it a dance, song, poem, drawing, whatever, to represent myself to pass the class. And being a retired artist wannabe, I decided to try my luck and draw something while I have no idea what to draw. Then I started drawing without thinking of something in particular. That's a talent right there. That's a really interesting exercise. I ended up drawing this, a representation of what I truly felt at the time, moving from a judgment place to an accepting place. Ooh, I like that. It's so on topic. I call it breaking free. So even though it's not the best drawing you'll ever see, as it has a lot of mistakes, but it was proof that I still have a spark. Now with the diagnosis and medication, I feel this piece means a lot more than just physical freedom. I hope this inspires someone to make someone happy at the very least, just like your content helped me through diagnosis depression last year. I'm getting choked up. Thank you.
Oh, I love that. Okay, let me see. Let's see cues. Art. It's also.
Oh, you know what? I can post it on it. I was going to post it in the stream because they allow me to like upload a. What is it? Well, now what? Oh, here we go. Perfect. Here we go. Oh, it's not the right size. Okay, well, we'll just look at it.
Just show me and then we can post it. Oh.
Yeah, it's really neat
cool.
and way better than anything I could do.
Drawing hands is so hard.
Yeah, no kidding.
I tried. That's a good hand.
Yeah, those are good hands.
I love this.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Love it, Q.
I love it, and I love what it represents.
Yep.
And I think as an artist, you're being hard on yourself because it's a beautiful drawing. But I know as someone who does art myself, I never think what I do is good or good enough.
And that's what keeps me from doing art. Is
Yeah.
I'm just unwilling to be imperfect. Excellent work, Q. Thank you for sharing that. Beautiful story.
Yeah. Love it. Gorge. Okay.
Okay. Look what I can do is so there was a time period where I was doing a lot of like spec commercials. I was like shooting a lot of spec commercials, just doing comedy writing, comedy sketches, and I started just I signed up for this program called Tongle at the time, that basically was an agency that connected creatives with companies who wanted to advertise. And so they put out a concept or a product and say, who wants to write a commercial for us? Oh, that shut down, didn't it?
It is a battery.
Oh, it's a battery?
Yeah. Oh.
Try it again. Sorry, drinking noises. Hi, Kim. asking, is it just Kim and Melanie over there? I have not seen names, even though they promised me I would see names. I tried to draw my hands after. She's like, got it. You did a fantastic job. Okay, so once upon a time, I belonged to this, or I subscribed to this like agency that would connect companies who wanted to advertise with creatives, like freelancers. And they would say, you know, we need a campaign for this new product or a new initiative or whatever. Pitch us your ideas. And so there'd be like a pitch stage and a script stage and like a video stage. And if your pitch got chosen, we would move on to the next stage and blah 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 and like win money and prizes. And so there, I was like doing that for just like extra work. And I was living in LA, so I had so many resources at my fingertips. So I made a spec commercial for Burton's Satis Fries. I don't know if they still have them. I haven't know.
I never
Has anyone been to Burger King lately?
Never.
But they were,
Satis
so they're
fries.
these crinkle fries that were like that were healthier. I guess they were maybe baked or something. But they were like diet fries basically. Anyway, here's that spec commercial.
Here it is. Stay tuned. You'll get to see it.
Put it on a post.
Come back for the actual episode.
Yeah. It'll be in the episode when it drops. So stay tuned.
Okay. I guess mine is, I was telling Courtney, like, what can I do? I guess, I mean, I do a lot of things, but do I do them all enough to show this? I don't know. So,
Says the aerialist.
I know, she said, do you have any aerial videos? I'm like, of course I do. So, yeah, I do aerial arts. Not so much lately because school is all and I have time for it ever. Although I do get to do aerial. I do get to go do aerial tomorrow. I'm happy to do it. Anyway, sidebar.
Is that company or class?
So, yeah, I started doing aerial in 2013. So it's been a while now, like 11 years of doing that.
She's gorgeous, by the way.
Here,
Ariel is just super. She's one of the most graceful people I've ever seen.
Oh,
And and watching and seeing like her tattoos, and she's gorgeous. Love her.
so much.
You don't have to. You don't have to say anything.
Compliments. So yeah, we've talked about this. This is how you and I initially got introduced, because Courtney was also an aerialist at one point. So anyway, I do that for fun. Aerial silks, Hemet, Lyra, this, now that I know I'm neurodivergent, it makes sense. The spinning, the hanging, the swinging, it's all very, very stimmy. And yeah, we can post a video.
And here it is.
Here it is. Come back, you'll be able to see it.
Bliss says, I was going to go purple, but the hairstylist talked me out of it because I'm too mean. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mix my own colors and I just like put it on in the shower and stuff and touch it up on my own. It's like a hobby for me. I enjoy it. It's a skin, so, but it is high maintenance. Yeah, you're right. Did you write voiceover and edit the video? Yeah, I did. The voiceover was actually done by my boyfriend at the time. I don't talk in it. I just act in. I wrote it and I act in it and I edited it. Okay, so I think that's it for this episode. Yes, it was a lot. So,
Yeah.
And we were brief with our segments. I'm proud of us.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us, guys. This has been an awesome episode. Keeley was wonderful, and I hope that you really just stay true to your weirdness until next time.
Keep it weird.
Keep it weird. Bye. So that was just me ending the episode. I think that we should probably take a break and maybe eat something. And then we'll do giveaways again later. So I'm thinking maybe like a 15-minute break. We'll do a 15-minute break. We'll be right back here when we're done, and we'll film the next episode. Meet us back here, same place.
Same back time.
She was bad. Get out of here, too. No, are you talking about the upload? No. My software wasn't allowing me to post it live right now, but I can just insert it in edit. When I say in post, that means like after it's done being filmed, I can go in while I'm editing it and put it in virtually. See. Oh, thanks, Chris Talk. Okay, I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Back here in 15-ish minutes.
Oh no, Zane has COVID.
Oh no.
He knew he was.
Do you guys live together?
No, I was him. He knew he was exposed.
Hmm.
His boyfriend's brother tested positive a couple days ago.
Aww.
I was supposed to take him to the dentist. I was supposed to take him to the dentist on Tuesday. It was a real hard time, so I just took him. And he's like, I don't know if I should go. I was supposed to go, but I'm like, are you just trying to get out of your dentist appointment because he hates the dentist so much?
Weird friends. Aw, you guys are so sweet. We'll see you in 15 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna disconnect now, but we'll be right back.
Oh, here. Oh, yeah, you'll